Is it 7 yet, Cinda?
You're live.
All right, here we go. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I see 37 people on tonight for our Muscatine
This conference
City Council
will now be
meeting,
recorded.
May 21st of 2020. Cinda, will you please do the roll call? Councilmember Hopkins?
Present.
Freilich?
Present.
Malcolm?
Present.
Gordon?
Present.
Rockert?
Present.
Dindrich? And Brackett?
Present.
7 present, 0 absent. Thank you. Okay, so we are going to have the pleasure tonight of swearing in 3 new firefighters. We apologize to them that this is very informal and we look to do something for them in the future. But we are going to get started, and Ryan Amadon is up first. Ryan, I can see you there. Welcome.
Thank you.
Will you please raise your right hand for me? And repeat after me. I, Ryan Amadon.
I, Ryan Amadon,
Do solemnly swear.
do solemnly swear
That I will support the Constitution.
that I will support the Constitution
Of the United States and the state of Iowa.
of the United States and the state of Iowa,
And that I will faithfully and impartially.
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
To the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability,
Discharge all the duties of firefighter.
discharge all the duties of firefighters
In the city of Muscatine, Iowa.
in the city of Muscatine, Iowa,
As now or hereafter.
as now or hereafter
Required by law.
required by law.
Congratulations, Firefighter Amadon.
Thank you very much.
We are going to have Kyle Davis now. Kyle, are you with us?
Yeah.
Will you please raise your right hand and repeat after me? Are you ready?
Yep.
I, Kyle Davis,
I, Kyle Davis,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the constitutions
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States and the state of Iowa,
of the United States and the state of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
and I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties of firefighter
discharge all the duties of firefighter
in the city of Muscatine, Iowa,
in the city of Muscatine, Iowa,
as now or hereafter
as now or hereafter
required by law.
required by law.
Thank you, and congratulations, Firefighter Davis. We welcome you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next we have Eric Joslin. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Eric Joslin,
I, Eric Joslin,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the constitutions
that I will support the constitutions
of the United States and the state of Iowa,
of the United States and the state of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties of firefighter
discharge all duties of firefighter
in the city of Muscatine, Iowa,
in the city of Muscatine, Iowa,
as now or hereafter
as now or hereafter
required by law.
required by law.
Thank you, and congratulations, Firefighter Jocelyn. We welcome you.
Thank you.
Certainly. We welcome these 3 new firefighters to our team and appreciate their service. We are going to continue on. This next part of our agenda is where we ask the community if there's any citizens that would like to talk to council about something that's not on tonight's agenda. If you have something that you would like to say to council or ask of council, please type it in the chat box and I'll give a couple minutes and see if I see anything come up. All right, we're going to continue on. If I have missed someone, if you would please type it in there, I will try to give a look and see if we can squeeze something in at the end, because I actually probably would have been better off asking for those comments to start typing before. All right, we are going to continue on. We are on the consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event it will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda, which includes items 6A and B, items 8A through M, items 12A through D, and tonight's bills totaling $8,389,753.10.
So moved. Gendrich.
Second?
Second by Gordon.
We have a motion by Councilman Gendrich with a second by Councilwoman Gordon. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? The motion carries. We have sorry about that. We have 2 public hearings tonight. The first public hearing concerns a moratorium on City Code Title 3, Chapter 1, Section 6, to streamline the process for permitting outdoor restaurant seating as part of the response to the COVID-19 public health crisis. Now is the time for the public to comment. Throughout the evening, folks, if you have any comments, if you would just put them in that chat box, I will make sure that I continually reference that to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to speak. I see nothing there, so do I have a motion to close?
So moved, Your Honor. Freilich.
Second.
Second, Your Honor. Brockert.
We have a motion by Councilman Freilich with a second by Councilwoman Brockert. All in favor say aye.
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 Were there any opposed? The motion carries. Our second public hearing concerns the proposed amendment number 2 to the 1920 city budget. Now is the time for the public to comment. I see nothing in the box. Do I have a motion to close?
Move to close, Councilman Brackett.
Second?
Second, Your Honor. Brockert.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilwoman Brockert. All in favor say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? The motion carries. We are going to continue on down. We are on 11A, if you're following with us. We have now a resolution approving the moratorium on Sections Title 3, Chapter 1, Section 6 of the Code of the City of Muscatine, which was our public hearing A. Do I have a motion to adopt this resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor, Councilman Brackett.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilwoman Gordon. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Councilwoman Brockert, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Gendrich?
Aye.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
Councilman Hopkins?
Aye.
Councilman Freilich?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gordon? Aye. The resolution is adopted with all ayes. And our second,
You guys just raised $15,000 for red nose days.
if you would please mute your phones or your tablets or your computers, whatever it is that you're on, so we don't hear the background noise. Thank you.
Muted.
Diana, Mayor Brotherson, you need to unmute. Kevin helped us out by muting everybody real quick.
I see, he muted everybody. Okay, thank you, Kevin. So we are on 11B, and we have a resolution to approve amendment number 2 to the 2019-2020 city budget, which was public hearing B. Do I have a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved, Gordon.
Second, please.
Second, Gendrich.
Malcolm.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Gordon with a second by Councilman Gendrich. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Councilwoman Brockert, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Gendrich?
Aye.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gordon?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm?
Aye.
Councilman Freilich?
Aye.
Councilman Hopkins?
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes. And we are now on 11C. We have presented for City Council's consideration a resolution approving recommendations to write off debts of 21 former Park House and Sunset Park tenants that owe money to the City of Muscatine. These amounts total $15,572.27, and they include unpaid rent, unpaid utilities, damages, and maintenance charges. As a matter of good accounting, the City of Muscatine is directed to write off debts that are doubtful for collection. Do I have a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor. Councilman Brackett.
Second?
Second by Gordon.
Malcolm.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilwoman Gordon. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Councilman Malcolm, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gordon?
Aye.
Councilman Freilich?
Aye.
Councilman Hopkins?
Aye.
Councilman Gendrich?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
Resolution is adopted with all ayes. We're on 11E. We have presented for City Council's consideration a resolution awarding the contract for the reconstruction of the Taxiway A project to Langman Construction for $2,497,660, subject to FAA concurrence. Do I have a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor. Councilman Brackett.
Second, please.
Second by Freilich.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Freilich. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Malcolm, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gordon? Aye. Councilman Freilich?
Aye.
Councilman Hopkins?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
Councilman Gendrich?
Aye.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
The resolution is adopted. And we are on 11F. Presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution setting a public hearing on June 4 of 2020 regarding an ordinance change that would correct a drafting error in section 1022.1, capital B, 5, lowercase b of City Code. Do I have a motion to adopt this resolution as submitted?
So moved. Gendrich.
Second by Gordon. Second by Gordon.
We have a motion by Councilman Gendrich with a second by Councilwoman Gordon. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Councilwoman Brockert, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Gendrich?
Aye.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
Councilman Hopkins?
Aye.
Councilman Freilich?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gordon?
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes. And we are
Mayor?
on 11. Yes.
Did we skip D?
Did we skip D?
Yes.
We must not have wanted to do D. We'll go back and do D now. How's that? I don't know how I managed. All right, we have presented for City Council's consideration a resolution approving the acceptance of funding for a new light-duty transit bus for the Federal Transit Administration Bus and Bus Facilities Project. The FTA will fund 85%, which is $86,275 of this bus, and the City of Muscatine will fund the remaining 15%, which is $15,225. The new bus will replace current bus number 246. Do I have a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor, Councilman Brackett.
I heard Councilman Brackett, and I didn't hear the second.
Second by Councilman Malcolm.
All right, we have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Malcolm. Is there any discussion?
Mayor, could I say something?
Yes. Yes.
Bus 246 has a special place in my heart. That baby has a lot of very interesting rattles in it. And I'll be sad to see it go.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hearing nothing else, Councilwoman Brockert, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Gendrich?
Aye.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gordon?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm?
Aye.
Councilman Freilich?
Aye.
Councilman Hopkins?
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes. And thank you for catching that for me, Cinda. And we are going to move down now to 11G. We have presented for City Council's consideration a resolution setting a public hearing on June 4th of 2020 regarding the vacation of a portion of the Cypress Street right-of-way adjoining to 1001 2nd Street. Do I have a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved, Gordon.
Second.
Second, Brockert.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Gordon with the second by Councilwoman Brockert. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Hopkins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Freilich?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm?
Aye.
Councilman Gordon?
Aye.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
Councilman Gendrich?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes, and we're on 11H. Presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution approving the outline development plan for an expansion of Cottage Grove Senior Housing Development. Cottage Grove Senior Housing, located at 1503 Hauser Street, was originally constructed in 2000 and currently is comprised of 14 buildings. The expansion of Cottage Grove would include 8 new duplexes, 1 triplex, and conversion of some existing 1-bedroom units into 2-bedroom units. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor. Freilich.
Second.
Second, Your Honor. Brackett.
We have a motion by Councilman Freilich with the second with Councilman Brackett. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Councilwoman Gordon, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm,
Aye.
Councilman Freilich,
Aye.
Councilman Hopkins,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brocker,
Aye.
Councilman Gendrich,
Aye.
Councilman Brackett.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes. And we're on 11I. We have a resolution supporting an application to the Iowa Finance Authority by Muscatine downtown investors for housing tax credits for proposed multifamily development located at 403 West Mississippi Drive. Do I have a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor. Councilman Brackett.
Second, please.
Second, Gendrich.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Gendrich. Is there any discussion?
I'd like to comment just that I think it's great this proposal has some, as I believe, if I read correctly, like access for 6 units for ADA accessible, and I compliment that.
Thank you. Hearing nothing else, Councilwoman Gordon, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm,
Aye.
Councilman Freilich,
Aye.
Councilman Hopkins,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brocker,
Aye.
Councilman Gendrich,
Aye.
Councilman Brackett.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes. We're on 11J. And now we have presented for City Council's consideration a request to approve the issuance of a purchase order to Arisa. Am I saying that correctly, John? Maybe John's muted. We're going to go with Arisa in the amount of $13,000 for the purchase of two. Thank you, John. For the purchase of 2 industrial ionizing odor control units to be placed in the laboratory and at the high-strength waste storage tank. 2 bids were received, with Arisa being the low bid. This item was not budgeted, but is listed on the extras list for the high-strength waste project. There are funds remaining in the high-strength waste project for this purchase. Do I have a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved.
So moved, Your Honor. Councilman Brackett.
We have a motion by Councilman Hopkins with a second by Councilman Brackett. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? The request is approved. We're on 11K. We have presented for City Council's consideration a request to approve the issuance of a purchase order to Midwest Pressure Washer in the amount of $7,963.60 for the purchase of a new stationary pressure washer to replace a failed unit. 3 quotes were received, with Midwest Pressure Washer being the low bid. Installation will be extra, and quotes are being requested. Cost of this purchase will be taken from the deferred roughing filter top layer project that has $90,200 remaining in its budget. Do I have a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved by Gordon.
Second by Brackett.
Second? We have a motion by Councilwoman Gordon with a second by Councilman Brackett. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? The resolution, or the request, is approved with all ayes. And we're on 11L. We have presented for City Council's consideration a request by Water Resource and Recovery Facility Director John Cook to approve the City of Muscatine joining Iowa's Wastewater Agency Response Network, a group of Iowa utilities that provide mutual aid following major emergencies. There's no cost to participate in this program. Do we have a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Freilich. Is there any discussion?
I just want to comment that I really like it when these no-cost items come forward. They're really easy to approve. Thanks, John.
There they are. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. And we're on 11M. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve a purchase order to Muscatine Lawn and Power in the amount of $13,999 for the purchase of a riding lawnmower for the Public Works facility. 2 quotes were received, with Muscatine Lawn and Power being the lowest. There's $13,999 budgeted for the expense in this building and grounds operating equipment fund. Do I have a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Gordon.
Brockert. We have a motion by Councilman Gordon with a second by Councilwoman Brockert. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Your Honor, I have a couple of comments. You know, I'm
Go
getting,
ahead, Oz.
I'm getting concerned because, you know, we're delaying, last week we discussed in meeting, we're holding off on hiring firemen just to keep within budget, and because we don't know what to expect in the future here over the next 30 to 60 or 90 days. And here we're buying lawnmowers and stuff, and all the stuff that maybe we should be deferring and holding on to that for a few minutes to let the dust settle. I mean, because when we talked last time, we pointed out that a lot of our revenue comes through property taxes, and everybody knows that currently there's a delay on people having to file by dates. You know, they had an extension of time. There's a lot of shortfalls coming up. And even though we're currently in a financial position that we are stable and we have reserves, I'd like to maybe start considering, maybe we need to hold back on some of this spending, especially on stuff that ain't got to be done. I mean, all right, if the grass gets a little long, but I think we'll survive. We can do that, because I'd rather keep us in a fiscal position that we can move forward with, instead of us getting in a negative position and have problems. And I like having money extra in my pocket. Yeah, I'm just saying that. I just want to go to cautionary tale out there. We're spending money that's getting my attention now. That's what it's for, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. Is there anyone else?
Mayor, this is Councilman Freilich. Yeah, I was looking at this one too, and if there is a reason that we absolutely need to buy it, that's one thing. But I would prefer to also defer just until a later date, maybe in the summer. We do have other lawnmowers that are available within the city that could absolutely help out in this situation for a period of time, a couple months. So that's my opinion.
I guess I would ask if staff's got a I would ask if staff has a comment on this, and I would like to hear their input on that. I mean, if there's a reason that we need to get it now, I want to know it before we shoot it down.
Is there a staff on here? Brian?
Yeah, Brian Stenman, Public Works Director.
Okay.
Yes. Can you hear me
Go
okay?
ahead. Yes.
Okay. So the reason this was previously budgeted, this is one of those machines that's it's a trickle down. So this one replaces the one that we have, which goes to the library, which replaces the one at the library, and the one at the library goes to fire station number 2 to replace that mower. I hate to, we can be honest with, we could live without it, I'm sure, but it is something that was budgeted, planned, and planned for. So I'll let the council make a decision on that, but the need is there. Otherwise, we wouldn't have brought it forward.
Your Honor. Go ahead, Kelsey. I had a question. Go ahead.
Okay. My follow-up question to that then, Brian, would be, is there a mower in place at the bottom of that trickle down now? And if so, is it dangerous in any way to staff? Is there, I don't want to shoot something down and have it cause problems. I don't want to hold this purchase back and have it cause problems. But I recognize the concerns expressed by the other council members as far as purchasing hardware when we're looking at the budget issues that we could potentially have. Understood. And I would say that there's no immediate danger. If it was dangerous, we wouldn't be using it anyway. If we want to defer for a couple months, I'll have to ask, and check with Nancy on that to see how that funding affects it. I'm assuming we could probably hold this back and carry it over. But that would be the only concern. I don't think there's a risk of losing the funding. Like I said, we can defer it if necessary. So I guess I just had a question, but then I think based on that, I would have a motion on this. But go ahead. I'll stay quiet for now.
My question was, I was going to ask Brian, is it possible that we could possibly hold this off for 60 days and revisit it after we know where we are with other revenues and revenue streams that are currently, we got a kink in the hose right now. So we need to see what it's going to be like when that kink comes out. Can we possibly get away without causing a major upheaval with this for at least 60 days and then bring it back up? Even though we have something that's budgeted, and technically we can do it, I just want to be cautious and careful not to get ourselves in trouble and something come up that we can't account for down the road. I can look straight ahead, but I can't look around corners.
Yeah, understood. I don't think 60 days is a big issue.
This is Nancy. Can I make a comment?
Sure, Ms. Nancy.
Oh, okay. You can't hear me. We can, since this is budgeted in the current fiscal year, we can do a carry forward request, which basically allows us to amend next year's budget if in 60 days you decide to proceed with it. So we can do it, but it's a budgeted 1 year. It would be purchased the next.
But I have a follow-up question.
Okay, go ahead.
How much extra work does this create for staff if we delay it 60 days and then go ahead and purchase it, which I anticipate we would? How much extra work does it create for staff if we do that? I don't know that it's creating extra work. I think we can survive 60 days, Kelsey. I don't see this being that big of an issue. The quote was up good and everything, so we brought it forward today. I understand the hesitancy, and I don't see an issue. But would we have any risk of losing this quoted price if we wait? I don't think 60 days is going to make or break the quoted price. Okay. All right.
Your Honor, I have a question for Brian. Go ahead. Brian, is this something that Muscatine Lawn and Power has in stock, or they have to order it?
My understanding is... Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
My understanding is that it is in stock.
Okay. So they've got it regardless if we take it now or take it in 60 days. Correct?
That is my understanding, and I can confirm that tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, I'd like to comment.
Go ahead.
If we're going to defer for 60 days, then I think we should defer till next year with our financial questions looming here in the next short amount of time. To buy a lawnmower in August, I think that everybody could probably do without. And as far as a question for Nancy, since I think she's probably still listening, items N, O, and P, we are facing some financial situations for sure. Well, hopefully not for sure. And we're putting in new windows. And the windows, I don't know specifically. I haven't done a one-on-one evaluation of those windows that are being replaced in these facilities, but I got a pretty good idea they might be able to last until next year or next budget. So I've got some questions about them.
John, do you mind if we hold off that question until we get to that item?
No, I don't mind at all, Your Honor. But back to M.
Okay.
I also find it kind of...
Okay.
Mayor, as far as item M, I was kind of curious that we have $13,999 budgeted, and the bid is $13,999. That's interesting.
Well, John,
I thought that was interesting also. Can you explain that, Brian?
yeah, so Stan got quotes for the mower before budget. This was the lowest quoted price. That's the number he used for his budget.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Get ahead of the game there. That's good. Okay. Thanks, Brian.
Yep.
So I'm going to ask for a vote to approve buying the mower now. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Hey.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion with that.
Were there,
I'd like to move that item M.
well, what do you,
I'd like it to be placed and rolled back, for 60 days and come back for reconsideration.
We didn't get the motion in before the vote.
Oh, okay.
but they can still bring it back. They can still bring it back in 60 days.
Okay.
That'd be my preference too.
Sounded like we had 7 nays, Cinda, for the mower. Is that what you got? Okay.
You're muted, Cinda.
So, even though we didn't vote on bringing it back in 60 days, certainly please make sure, Brian, to get that back put out there, and then we can discuss it again at that time.
Can I make one other comment, Mayor?
Thank you. Sure.
I would ask staff that if the necessity arises for some reason that this becomes more timing critical, bring it back sooner by 60 days. Otherwise bring it back in 60 days. But if we have a mower that completely fails and we are then sending staff, with a trailer and a mower all over the place to try and cover areas where a mower is broken, I don't think that's efficient either. So if this creates if one of those pieces of equipment in the chain fails, and this needs to happen sooner than 60 days, I would like to see it come back when if it's necessary.
Understood, will do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and move on. We're on 11N. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve the issuance of a purchase order to Window World in the amount of $44,526 for the purchase of windows for the public safety building. 2 quotes were received, with Window World being the lowest. There's $45,000 budgeted in the deferred maintenance budget for this expense. Do I have a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor. Councilman.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilwoman Gordon. We'll open it up for discussion, and Councilman Gendrich has asked a question regarding this. Brian, would you like to speak to this? Or who has this?
Yeah, this is a public works issue, building and grounds. This is a deferred maintenance item that's been deferred a couple times, trying to get these windows updated. And I realize that we're on N, but O and P are very similar. So they are deferred maintenance. They've been budgeted, and we've finally gotten quotes that to purchase them, and so that's why we brought them forward.
This is Nancy, and I'll have a comment also. The deferred maintenance projects are funded from a bond issue, so those bond proceeds can only be used for this project, and it was specifically budgeted for a number of windows and a number of other improvements. So these are kind of restricted funds specifically for this purpose.
Okay, so Nancy,
Councilman?
Mayor, if I could just ask a question?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, okay. So that confirms then there's no way to reallocate that money then and so forth. need it in some other area.
It would be a process to reallocate that money, but it couldn't be allocated for operating expenses. When you issue bonds, it's specifically for capital projects that have a useful life at least as long as the bond issue.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate you knowing how to answer all those questions, so thank you.
Sure.
Your Honor? Thank you, John. Yes, go ahead.
Do we anticipate any energy savings with putting in all of these new windows, Brian?
Yes, we do, and if there are rebates to be received, Stan is very good at that. I don't know that that we get rebates for windows anymore. I think that those are so commonplace that they kind of gone away from those, but we will definitely check, and if they are available, we will pursue them.
Okay, but these are thermal pane where you've got the two panes of glass with a gas between the two panes.
That is correct. These are all basically double-hung windows with double panes. They're much easier to clean, much safer to clean, and hopefully it'll last the rest of my career and everybody who works for me's career.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mayor, I have a question, Councilman Freilich.
Go ahead.
I was just wondering, I see it's just 2 quotes were received. Is there a reason why these were not bid?
These were bid. We asked for bids, and these are the only 2 that we got back. Bids, quotes, kind of an interchangeable word, but we did put out specs, and we met with vendors, and Window World was the lowest.
Okay, so they were actually bids then?
Yes.
Okay,
I believe so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hearing nothing else, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. We're on 11O, presented for City Council's consideration as a request to approve the issuance of a purchase order to Window World in the amount of $3,450 for the purchase of replacement windows for the Public Works Engineering Department. 3 bids or quotes were received, with Window World being the lowest. There's $3,450 budgeted for this expense. Do I have a motion to approve the request?
So moved, Your Honor. Councilman Brackett.
Second by Gordon.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilwoman Gordon. Any discussion?
Mayor, does this also fall under the same as the previous motion? Was this
What do you mean?
was
This
this
is a separate.
yeah. No, but was it the money for this set aside the same way as the previous motion? Was it
Yes, I believe so. Is that correct, Nancy?
Yes, this one, and then also the Art Center, Art Gallery roof, the next one.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you. Mayor, if I could, please.
Yes.
Question for Brian. I'm just curious.
Go ahead.
And pardon me for maybe not knowing, but is Window World from Muscatine?
I'm not sure. I think Window World is nationwide. I'm not sure where their local office is for this particular one. It may be out of the Quad Cities, but I'm not sure.
I wondered if we had any quotes from locally and how off maybe those quotes were from this price. Anybody?
I can get those, John, but I don't have them handy. I know that Window World was quite a bit lower than the others, but I can get you those quotes, and so you can compare them if you'd like.
Yeah, we'll help out over that sometime. Maybe when I stop by, if it comes up, why I can get those answers. But thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
I have one more question too. I guess I hadn't noticed. Is this install prices, Brian, or is there a separate installation charge?
No, this price includes removal of the existing window and installation of the new window.
Okay, thank you.
Hearing nothing else, all in favor say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. And to our last window. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve the issuance of, I was double checking my number there, sorry about that. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve the issuance of a purchase order to Window World in the amount of $6,868 for the purchase of replacement windows for the Public Works office area. For the purchase of replacement windows there. 3 quotes were received, with Window World again being the lowest. There's $8,280 budgeted for this expense. Do I have a motion to approve the request?
So moved, Your Honor. Councilman Brackett.
Second?
Second by Gordon.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilwoman Gordon. Any discussion on these windows? All in favor say aye. Yes.
Aye.
Brian, I do have a quick question. Does this replace all of the windows in the public safety building, or do we still have some that are maybe not past their lifespan?
Well, this particular item P is for Public Works, but for the public safety, I believe this does get all of the windows, but I will confirm that as well.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. And now we are on 11Q. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve the issuance of a purchase order to Bryant Roofing in the amount of $30,036 for the replacement of the Art Center Gallery room. 3 bids were received, with Bryant Roofing being the lowest. There's $30,000 budgeted for this in the deferred maintenance budget. Do I have a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved,
Councilman Brackett.
We have a motion by Councilman Malcolm with a second by Councilman Brackett. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor, did we leave out Art Center Gallery room roof?
That's what we're doing right now?
Yeah.
No, the wording.
Because the word isn't there.
The second line of the request.
It's in the agenda, yes, but in the actual associated documentation on the agenda online, the wording is correct. Includes the word roof. There's just a typo right there in the agenda.
Okay.
It says room here, but it's really roof.
Okay. I just needed to have that clarified because...
Yes, you're right. Hearing nothing else, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Are there any opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. We're on 11R. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve the issuance of a purchase order to SHI in the amount of $8,440.51 for the purchase of 7 Microsoft Surface Pro laptop computers. 4 quotes were received, with SHI being the lowest. This purchase is being funded by the Bureau of Justice Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding Program grant. Do I have a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved.
Brackett.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Hopkins. Is there any discussion?
I would just like to comment again. Thank you to the chief and whatever staff worked on getting the funding for this. It's a lot easier to approve anything like this that does not come with a price tag to us locally. So thank you.
Yep. All in favor say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? The request is approved with all ayes, and we are on 11F. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve the issuance of a purchase order to Aeroclave in the amount of $15,743 for the purchase of an Aeroclave RDS 3110 vehicle and room disinfectant system. This purchase is being funded by the Bureau of Justice Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding Program grant. Do I have a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second, Your Honor, Councilman Brackett.
Second. I have a motion by Councilwoman Brockert with a second by Councilman Brackett. Is there any discussion?
I'd have the same comment, and also I'm glad that we're getting this because I think it'll help protect our officers from the sounds of what it's intended to be used for. So I think that, you know, anything we can do to protect, you know, our first responders and other city staff is something that is absolutely necessary. So thank you.
All in favor say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. And we are now on 7T, and we are going to hear from Stephanie for an update on where we're at with our hiring our new city administrator. Stephanie, are you with us?
I am. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I believe Charlene from GovHR is still on the line with us as well. So I'm going to kind of go through an outline that we've put together, and assuming she's still on here, she'll be able to answer any questions you might have as well. I'm kind of just looking for some consensus tonight about the process moving forward. We met last week with the committee that elected the recruiter to review our proposed steps, and want to present them tonight for council and get some consensus and answer any questions you might have. So the application deadline was last Friday, May 15th. We ended the process with 58 applications. This week, Charlene has been reviewing those applications for initial screening and selection of her initial round of interviews, which will take place next week. She has scheduled 16 interviews for next week, and from those interviews, she will narrow down the week of June 8th to present to council consideration of however many of those candidates she feels are qualified, viable candidates for you to consider. That will be you'll have a series of special meetings, probably, council, for this process. These will be done in closed session. Most likely, I'm assuming that most of the candidates will request that their initial interviews take place in closed session. You will be able to narrow those down to the number of people that you want to talk to based on the candidates that she presents you. The plan is to, the week of June 15th, schedule those initial interviews with City Council. Those will be an electronic Zoom GoToMeeting format. And from there, you'll be able to narrow to finalists. Most likely will be 2 to 3 people, depending on how you feel about the candidates that you have to select from. At this point, we'd like to have some participation from the public, given the current social situation with the coronavirus. In-person situation is a little bit more challenging. So we are proposing that we do some sort of electronic version of candidates answering questions and making a short presentation that anyone in the public who's interested in watching can view, and then we will provide them some sort of a feedback mechanism to let you get feedback from how the public perceive those candidates. Details on how that's going to work exactly are to be determined, but that's the direction that we're moving on those. The goal is then that the week of the 22nd of June, we will invite the final candidates to town for a formal interview with City Council, which again would be a closed session meeting. The candidates will also have an opportunity to interact with staff a luncheon or something like that, have a tour of the community. Council can review the feedback they've gotten from the public, and then you'd be able to make your selection, make the offer, and negotiate the contract that following week. And the goal is to have the new candidate starting around August 1st. Charlene, if you're on the line, did I miss anything?
No, I think you covered everything that we discussed, Stephanie. And I would just say that there were a couple of candidates who withdrew, so at this point would be 14 candidates that I would be presenting to the council.
Great, thank you. Any questions, council?
And I would just like to add that the committee did meet last week with Charlene, and we all talked about working through this process and what the steps and the timeline were going to be, and we really tried to scrunch those numbers up as tight as we could. Really hoping for someone to be on board on August 1. So, and we feel really, the committee, as part of the committee, we feel really good about this timeline and how things are going and everything that's being done so far by GovHR, working through this process on our behalf. So Stephanie, you would like a consensus from council to just continue moving forward with this timeline and this agenda?
Yes, Mayor, thank you.
Council, do we have consensus, or were there any questions, or is everybody good with this?
Good with it, I think that it sounds like it's proceeding nicely.
I think I'll call on you one at a time. Councilman Brackett?
I was just going to say, I think it sounds like it's proceeding nicely. Thank you, Stephanie. It sounds like you and GovHR are getting this moving forward, and I think that you're on the right track, and I have no objections.
Councilman Gendrich?
Well, thanks, Stephanie and GovHR for all the work so far, and to the committee. I'm not fully versed on what all has been going on, but I hope that everyone's taking into effect or into consideration to make sure we get good, solid community input, not just from community leaders and community input that will make the process a total supportive situation for the new city administrator. So if there's anything that can be done further to make sure we've got that good community support, I hope the committee will be able to make those modifications if they haven't already been.
If I could just, that's one of the reasons we chose to, I'm sorry, Mayor.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to comment that that's one of the reasons we decided to try to do the online format versus an in-person, given the current, environment. We didn't want to have to limit people who might be interested in participating, and by doing things online, anybody that's interested will be able to have access to see the candidates and get a feel for their qualifications and their personalities and all that sort of thing.
And then give us feedback. So you're right, yes. John.
Yep. Yes, there will be a mechanism for providing feedback to council for sure.
Perfect.
Councilwoman Brockert?
I'm fine with it.
Councilman Hopkins?
I'm good with it. Move forward.
Councilman Freilich?
Being a member of the committee, I want to thank everybody that has worked on the committee, and we've all worked very hard to condense this to the shortest possible time frame. It'd been nice if we could have even made it shorter, but just not possible by the time you interview this number of people and get all the discussions done. So I appreciate all the hard work that everybody's done, and let's move forward.
Thank you. Councilman Malcolm?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm good with it. It sounds impressive, and I know what kind of work had to go into it, and I thank everybody involved for their dedication in getting it done for us. We appreciate the help, and let's move forward.
Thank you. Councilwoman Gordon.
I'm total agreement with the process. It sounds logical and well defined. It is an aggressive timeline,
there's a lot to do in the next month. So look forward to the results and the meetings and the discussion. So hopefully it keeps moving like it is now, which is great. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Sounds like you have consensus, Stephanie. Thank you. And thank you also, Charlene, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we are going to move along with, and we're on 11U. Councilman Malcolm wanted to have a discussion and talk more about opening up the city and how things are looking with City Hall and everything. Councilman Malcolm, did you want to take the lead on that discussion?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. I wanted to bring this up. We had talked about opening up sometime next month in June, but based on the way things are going, I've yet to hear any plan for safety. What are we doing? Like small issues, but it could be big. Like I recommended earlier to other council members that we need to consider possibly asking for partitions between us. I forgot the name, the Plexiglass stuff that can be wiped down after the meeting. It's not just us or using the council chambers. We have the school board, we have the planning and zoning, and other people asked to use it, League of Women Voters, all kinds of people use this facility. And we need to have a way where people can safely come in, use it, and try to reduce some of the possible virus spread. And after the meetings are done, it can be wiped down, disinfected, everything. Also, the social distancing for the audience. I need to hear, I'd like to hear, what are the considerations, what's the plan for people who come in to sit there and listen and be participating in the meetings? How about the common areas in City Hall itself, the finance office where people come to pay bills and transact other business? Maybe we need to consider some sort of plexiglass partitioning for the people that's taking the money and giving the money, and marking the floor that keep it 6 feet apart so you can stand there like you do at the post office or at one of the grocery stores, and people park and recreations. I need to hear. I understand Rich and his people are very busy down there. Planning and zoning as well, community development. These general areas. Also, what's the maintenance protocol? We have a maintenance staff now. Well, they're very good and very efficient, but it's not a lot of them. And for this purposes, there's a lot of extra work being involved. So maybe we need to talk to staff needs to explain what are their thoughts about maybe hiring a temporary 1 or 2 people to help out, or maybe contracting another cleaning service to assist for 30 days, 60 days, whatever, while we go through this initial phase to figure out where we are with these things and work on the mechanics of all this. I haven't heard any of this, and I'm a little concerned that we're supposed to be doing this in a couple of weeks, but there's no game plan that I'm aware of. And I'd like to hear a game plan. I'd like to know that when I come sit in that chair, I'm not going to affiliate on Councilwoman Gordon or Councilman Fraley unnecessarily, and they won't affiliate on me. So those things. Plus, I need to know that once we get up and leave, the place is going to be disinfected and clean. And even though the police are going to have a little machine that they're getting, I don't know if the police chief is willing to come over and clean the council chambers with it. So just my thoughts, Your Honor. I like to hear what we're asking to do.
Yes. So have we made any, I think kind of this is something that we probably would have heard in, city administrator updates, these kind of plans. And so I think we are kind of at a loss of knowing where we're at with that. But I think just that we do need, if we're thinking about opening up City Hall by June 1, I think you have a very valid point there, Councilman Malcolm. What is going to be the plan? Because, I don't know that I'm comfortable sitting there with nothing. I think having a mask on is going to be really difficult. Maybe, are we going to have staff wear a mask at City Hall when customers come in, when the citizens come in?
Mayor?
What is the game plan? Yes, somebody's trying to talk.
Yeah, this is Stephanie. I can fill you in on some of those details.
Go ahead.
From an operational standpoint, these are things staff has been discussing. And we do have plans in place to address these concerns. We have masks available for our staff, for those that wish to wear them. When we have close contact with people coming into the building, we will be wearing masks. We will be asking the public to wear masks when they enter the building. We do have plans in place to set up some social distancing markings, chairs set apart, that sort of thing. We do have some barriers already put in our offices, and we are providing departments with cleaning supplies, hand sanitizer, disinfectant wipes, and so on. The only issue from a staff standpoint that we have not yet addressed is council chambers, and some of that is dependent upon when the city council decides that they will be reconvening in person. So these are operational issues that staff is on top of and discussing.
Okay, so I think we need, Councilman Brackett, was that you?
Yes, it was, Your Honor.
Okay.
So the question that I would pose towards this, or I guess the request that I would have, would be that before I, as a council member, can agree with, give consensus to, or vote to approve that the public be allowed back in City Hall, I need to see a plan that I can read. I need to see, what the steps are, what the process is that's going to be used, because public safety is one of the things that we are charged with as a council. And so I need to know what that is before I can agree with it. And, and I'm not opposed to the process. I just don't know what the process is right now. So the request that I would have would be that the council be provided with, the document that staff has put together detailing what the procedures are and how things are going to be handled differently than normal. If a particular thing, if normal fits a specific category for some reason, be it like sanitation or whatnot, then it could just be stated as such. But if because of the current situation there are things that are different than normal, there should be a document that details that out, kind of like basically that we'd be able to review. So that would be my request. Thank you.
Anyone else have thoughts, ideas?
Your Honor, this is Brian Steinman, Public Works Director.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to add a little bit to what Stephanie had said. Is we've taken some measurements in council chambers to try to determine, what the spacing would be for the public, what the spacing needs to be for council, what type of dividers or partitions we would need to provide. Really what we need to know from council is, how soon are you trying to get back into the council chambers, and how much effort and money do you want us to expend to make that happen? We could make individual pods if you wanted to, but I don't know that it's worth it if this is working okay or not. So a little guidance from you guys, and it doesn't have to happen tonight. Hopefully it won't happen tonight, but that's a little bit of input would be helpful for us to try to figure out, how much effort and time and funding to expend for this. If you're content with doing these meetings online for a little bit longer, then we don't have to worry about it so much. If you're adamant to get back in there, then we can obviously fast track it and try to do something different. But just that input for the council chambers, at least, anyway.
Your Honor?
Mayor, can I piggyback on my last comment real quick? And it's short, I promise.
Sure.
Okay. I'm in zero hurry whatsoever to get back in there, and I'm in zero hurry to open it up if we're able to meet the majority of the needs of the public in a timely manner as we're functioning right now. My first concern is safety. So that's all. Thank you.
Your Honor? Your Honor, this is Councilman Fralick. I was just wondering if I've missed something. Has the governor okayed for public meetings yet? I know it was 10 people, but is there any other mandates out there?
Yes, not.
Okay.
No.
So as of right now, we can't do it anyway.
No. and the thing is, we're going to have to. I don't even think that we're not voting tonight because this doesn't say any kind of action to go along with this. But even so, I don't think we haven't got, like Councilman Brackett was asking for, what is going to be the protocol at City Hall. So I don't even think we can open City Hall back up on June 1 because we haven't seen the list to be able to vote on it.
If I might,
So
Mayor,
I would think that,
if I might, Mayor,
Yeah.
we can certainly provide an outline to you of the things the staff is doing, but we have been following the Iowa Department of Public Health and CDC guidelines in terms of the sanitizing and distancing and all of those requirements or recommendations. So we can certainly provide an outline of what we're doing for you, but we are following those guidelines.
So, thank you. So maybe if we could get that, and everybody be able to go over it and find their comfort level with it, and then maybe at the June 4th meeting, we could vote to reopen City Hall the following Monday, which would be the 8th.
The 8th, yeah.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I heard what Brian said, and my comment, my response to that is, well, if you're going to we're not talking about pots, just say something like simple as plexiglass between each of the council people. All right, tell us what you think that would cost to do it. If we had to have plexiglass, and not just for the council, I'm concerned about the people at the finance office that's got to handle money. I walk in the fairway and I have to hand my money through a little hole that they have in the slide underneath it, and the young lady gives me my money back and a receipt. How do we protect the staff and the people from each other? And like I said, let us know what your plan is and tell us what you think it costs so we can review it and say yes, no, or make other suggestions to this. Right now we're walking in the dark, and I'm not used to walking somewhere where I might be uncomfortable when I don't have to. Let's not do that. Let's make everybody else safe as well. Let's make people feel comfortable and say, you're invited to come in here and we're going to protect you as best we can. That's my point.
Mayor, if I might, one more time, as I mentioned earlier, Councilmember Malcolm, we have already put barriers in place in City Hall. Even though we're not open to the public, those are being set up currently. Finance and HR both have them, and I believe other departments are getting them as well. Again, these are operational issues, and staff is working on these things. So we will be ready when we're ready, when it's time to open. And at this point, we're planning to open on June 1st.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, well, I don't know that council's comfortable opening on June 1st until they see all the protocols and vote on it at the June 4th meeting. Is that what I'm hearing from council, or no?
That's my stance. I understand that, what Stephanie's saying, in regards to that that they're following those and that they're putting they've put some barriers in place. I honestly would like, I definitely would like to, discuss this again once everything has been completed before we approve opening of City Hall. And I see this as two separate things, to some of the comments that Councilman Malcolm made. Opening City Hall to the public, first for people to go to the finance office and, the community development office and, and NHR, so that people can get in and, and file paperwork and, pay fines and things like that, get permits in person, but the opening up council chambers would be a completely separate thing. I would prefer not to spend the money that I can envision it would take to completely codify that room. And if we hold off and continue having online meetings, for a little bit longer, I don't see an issue with that. Versus spending a large amount of dollars on, or staff time, which is dollars, on, doing a lot of work in that room. So, I would look to staff for some creative ideas on that and what they think based on, their understanding of the guidelines, because I'm sure, that Stephanie has read way more of the CDC information than I have at this point. I would look to Brian and Stephanie for guidance on what we could do, what we should do in council chambers when we get to that point. And I don't doubt that they're putting the right things in place. That's not my concern, but I still, as an elected official, feel the need to verify that I am comfortable with what has been put in place for the public safety, both for the staff being safe from the public and the public being safe from the staff, as it were, when you've got something that is an airborne contagion. So, thank you.
This is Councilman Gordon. Can I add on, please?
Yes, please.
Okay, I think we're pretty much all on the same path. This can be a phased-in approach. So June 1 was a great target, but I think if we come back with a plan on the June 4th, as you said, Mayor, council meeting to review City Hall, in theory, could open up faster after that, after we have a chance to review the protocol and the processes. So then at that same time, if Brian and his team can come back with their concepts or ideas on how to update council chambers, that could be, if we agree to it, done at a later date. Once we confirm the funding, we just need to have an idea of what they're proposing and what the cost is, and if we want to spend that money. So there are two different ideas and things to move forward, one for the public and one for the council meetings. So it looks like it's not going to happen June 1, but come back on June 4th and let us review it and vote at that time for opening City Hall. Does that make sense?
And I did, yes, thank you. And I did notice Nathan Mather typed in that they had looked at adding quite a bit of plexiglass arrangement for the county supervisor's room, and that what they had looked at was quite expensive. So yes, we'd be happy to look at some different ideas, and as you said, it could be a phased-in approach with City Hall opening first, and hopefully everything would be fine at the June 4th meeting. We'd be able to vote that through so that it could reopen on June 8th. Does anyone else have anything else to add?
I just quickly, if I could, please, Mayor.
Yes.
John, thanks, Councilman Malcolm, for bringing this issue up and for everybody's input. I think it is kind of, Kelsey touched on it and some other comments too, that I think it's bad optics, to the public. For us to spend a bunch of money and, possibly in a couple of months, hopefully, things are, calm down to the point where, a partition or something like that is not necessary. And, to hire extra staff to sanitize and that kind of thing in a big room and so forth. I just, it sounds to me kind of like everybody's content and feels safe with this situation. And I don't think we should be spending, money that, might be outdated money here in 3 months or something, whatever it might be. So.
Absolutely. I think we're all on that page, John. Anyone else? Otherwise, I feel like the consensus, I'll say it, and then if anybody disagrees, then please join in or please say something. But what I'm hearing from council is they would like to have a report from staff prior to our council meeting on June 4th outlining all of the safety protocol that's going to take place, and they can approve that and vote to open City Hall the following Monday, which I believe would be June 8th. Is that the consensus of council? If not, please speak up. Okay, we'll leave it there then. Thank you. Next on the agenda is 11B. We have a request by Council Member Malcolm that the interim city administrator hours be restricted to 15 hours a week with additional administrator duties and needs passed to Rich Climbs, Deputy City Administrator. Councilman Malcolm, would you like to
Yes,
use
Your Honor.
this one as well?
Once again, this goes back to us spending money that we, even though we budgeted for it, we're good financial position. I understand all that, but if I don't have to spend any money, I tend not to. And this is the same thing with this. I mean, I learned a long time ago, if you're not willing to spend your money to do it, don't spend the people's money. So I like to, this is no way meaning that Mr. Jenkins is not doing a great job. He's doing an excellent job from what I understand. Everybody's content with his expertise and outstanding output. But I'd like to make sure that we keep a lid on costs. That's why we've already had a discussion about windows tonight and lawnmowers and other. I mean, I want to make sure that, from my standpoint, that I want to do the best I can at making sure we stay financially sound and ahead of the curve. And I don't think it'll cause too much harm asking Mr. Jenkins not to work more than 15 hours a week to what we originally agreed to when he was brought on. Any additional stuff can roll over to the next week or whatever. If it's kind of like an emergency thing, then the deputy administrator can step in and see whatever, and maybe make a phone call to Mr. Jenkins and find out together what they would like to do. But I just like to restrict that to the 15 hours as we originally started, just as a cost-saving effort. That's it. That's my thoughts.
Is, Rich, are you on the line?
I don't think we have Rich or Greg tonight, and as much as I was, but I don't have a problem with discussing this. I don't have a problem with the concept of it, but I would much rather have this discussion with both of them involved.
And this is Peggy. I've thought about this too. I'm not necessarily in favor of the reduction because I don't know what we'd be able to accomplish with a part-time city administrator for 15 hours, or think about it, 2 days, when we know that a normal city administrator doesn't work anywhere near probably 40 hours even. So I think the reduced hours that our interim city administrator is working, which I think is in the 30 to 35 range, is probably acceptable for the amount of work and the task that we've tasked him. And we're looking at maybe 6 to 8 weeks left of this role if we do get somebody hired and in here sometime in July or by August 1. So we're talking, anywhere from, say, 8 to 12 weeks. So I wouldn't be in favor of the reduction unless we specifically know what task it delegate each way. And we aren't very clear on that. So just my thoughts. Your Honor?
But that is $50,000 that we could save.
That we're saving because we are, that's a little more than...
If we did the reduction, that's what I was trying to sit there and do the math. Mm-hmm. It almost is like we could pay all of our summer help with that cost savings.
Your Honor.
Councilwoman Brocker, were you going to say something?
Yes. Initially, when Mr. Jenkins was brought on into the interim city administrator position, council agreed that we would have him pretty much full-time and some overtime while we were in budget. And then after budget was over, then we would cut his hours back to at least half of that, like 15 to 20 hours a week, and anything that would be beyond that would be given to Rich to take care of. And I know that's not how it's working out so far, but that's the way that council initially wanted it to work. And I think we should stick to that. From the cost saving aspect particularly.
Well, I just wanted to add, I don't think that's just not in any way a reflection of
no, not at all.
Not being done. Just a matter of being doing our due diligence with the taxpayers' money, especially when we know, we're gonna be in a pinch here. Councilman Freilich, I'm sorry, you were trying to say something.
That's okay. I just wanted to add the fact that, I went back and I looked at the hours, and just to get it up real close, he's running closer to 38 to 39 hours a week. I went back and looked at all of it. And, that's substantially more than what I ever thought we would be after budget. And I agree with Dave. Originally, that's what was agreed on, was that he would work the hours needed through the budget season. And since we're past the budget season, that the hours would be reduced. No way a reflection on him. But we do have, and this is my standpoint, we do have a on-staff person that we do not have to pay extra for in Rich. And I think he's perfectly capable of handling the day-to-day operations until the point of the new city administrator is brought in. And I think the communications can be established, that what one gets, the other one gets. I think that it could be easily done with cooperation. That's my point.
I had one follow-up,
Go ahead.
which is mostly just a repeat of my original statement. I don't disagree with this at all, but I don't want to make the decision without both of them involved to determine whether or not something changed in the time frame. We did look at it, that it should have been reduced. The hours should have dropped and duty should have been shifted after budget. That got lost somewhere along the way. I'm certainly not, I hadn't brought it up. Councilman Malcolm brought it up now. I appreciate that he did. But I would want to have them, before we would vote or take any action on this particular item, I would like to have them both here. And I thought we would have, I don't know. I guess until kind of the last minute, I thought maybe they would be on. But if not, I'd like to hold off on making a decision on this until, we can have, at least have one-on-one, I feel like I can have at least have a one-on-one conversation with both of them. I would prefer it to be in an open meeting, though.
The thing is, by the time we would have another council meeting, we'd rack up another $10,000 that could be saved. I wonder.
I would be comfortable. It would be not fair. It could be $20,000 at 2 weeks. I'm sorry. You're right. 10,000. My mistake.
I would be.
I wonder if we. With what?
I was going to say I would be comfortable with directing the interim city administrator to work with Rich to determine what items he can hand off and get back to us within, a short period of time, letting us know. And then if we have to call a special session to vote on something, we can. But, I think that would be reasonable to ask them to meet at the soonest possible time. And they can meet virtually. I'm not directing them to go sit in the same room at this point if they don't have to, but to determine what they can, what could be handed off to Rich, and does either of them feel that it would cause any issues with the functions of the city right now, and to ask them to make it a goal that they can reduce the interim city administrator's hours down to 15, but I don't want to use a hatchet on this.
I have a question. This is Gordon.
I see Rick is on there now.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Peggy.
Okay, I just have a question for Nancy or whoever might have administered the contract, because I pulled up the contract just to check it out and noticed there was like a 30-day clause, stuff like that. But I did not see anything written in the minutes that talked about how many hours estimated for working. Nancy, was there anything in the contract, in the agreement?
Yeah, this is Nancy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if we had it in the agreement, but when we did the budget, I had allowed for extra hours during the budget, and then we thought the budget would be done by like March 8th, and from then on, the goal was 32 hours a week. And I know there's been a number of other things that have come up that have taken more time on Greg's part, but, you know, we had 50 some hours during, you know, while the evening budget meetings were going on, and the goal was to get it down to 32.
Okay. Thank you, Nancy.
Nancy, can you give an update? Can you tell us how much we have spent so far? Or not?
Well, I signed out of the software. I can tell you in a minute.
Okay, I'll take another comment. Go ahead. Go ahead, Councilman Franklin.
While she's looking that up, I just got the contract in front of me also, and it says on the work schedule, it says the work schedule will be based on the needs of the city and will be flexible to allow for maximum cost effectiveness and efficiency in completing needed work. And that is originally why I thought that we had, back when the council before us originally decided that we needed to have the deputy city administrator to take some of the load off for the interim city administrator, who was at that time unfamiliar and still is not fully up to speed. It takes a while to get there. You know, I'm just saying that efficiency is important to me, and this is conceivably a big cost-saving item. And that's all it is, it's cost-saving. There's no reflections on anybody.
So this take into consideration... I'm sorry?
Go ahead, Councilwoman. No, go ahead.
Just want to make sure that the money that we perceive that we're saving and that we're paying the interim city administrator, there's a little offset for money that we're not paying what would have been the normal administrator. So it's not a whole 100%, but there is a slight difference there. So it is not a full $50,000. It's a little less than that, because we're not also paying what would have been the previous administrator.
Except we paid him out.
So yeah, it is a double dip.
Well, it is a double dip.
Okay, thank you.
I still stand on, I'm not willing to make a blanket, cut this down to this number of hours without having both individuals involved. And I understand, I do see that Rich has joined, but I'm not going to put him on the spot to speak on this unless he wants to, because I would rather direct the interim city administrator and the parks director to sit down together and figure out how many hours of work can be offloaded to Rich and without causing further issues. And with the strong recommendation that it be as many hours as possible, that makes sense. Because we did not anticipate that we were going to have all these extra expenses from, the coronavirus. We didn't anticipate that we were going to have the loss in revenue from the coronavirus. None of that was there when we were making these decisions last winter, and then it's come upon us now. So we do need to take that into consideration. And so I do agree with the concept of this. I'm just very concerned about not having, all parties that are involved in this, and the interim city administrator is vital to this decision, and because he would be able to say, yes, I can do this. So I would much rather direct them to the goal of minimizing the amount of billable hours to the interim city administrator and have him offload that work to Rich Climbs as the, deputy city administrator that, I realize there's been some discussion about whether or not that was an appropriate title to use, but it is a temporary title that we put in place. So I do agree with the reduction of hours. I just don't want to use a chainsaw on it or a hatchet or whatever, word I've come up with so far tonight. So thank you.
Mayor?
I did look up in the code, on Title 1, Chapter 9, Council Powers and Duties, 1-9-2, under line item F, Employees. And it says that the council shall authorize the number of employees, the duties, the terms of office, and their compensation of employment for officers not otherwise provided, or officers not otherwise provided by law or not in the code of ordinance. I know there had been a comment once that our city code doesn't have a deputy city administrator, but the council voted one in, as they're clearly allowed to do under our code. Since that position is not listed, then the council can just choose according to that code that I just read. So, where are we at? Nancy, were you able to get that number?
Yes. It looks like from my notes, where we are right now, we had allowed, off the screen, we had allowed 101,000 in that line item, and we're at 76,950 through May 15th.
And when did that start? When did that start?
That was back in December when Greg was first appointed.
So we spent $76,000 since December?
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah, but, that's a contract rate, so it's not an employee rate where there would be FICA and Medicare on top of that. Yeah.
Right.
So this is the contract rate.
Right. Anyone else have anything to weigh in?
Mayor, this is John here. I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but I wonder if we should solicit the input from some of the other directors in departments as to what would work with this situation.
I guess I don't.
I don't know that I would put them on the spot necessarily right now.
Yeah, I would.
I'm curious as to how, for instance, Nancy or Stephanie, how they think the situation is working out and whether or not hours are being utilized well. But it's completely understandable not to, go any further than what we need to, and not to put people on the spot, as I think Kelsey mentioned that, used that term there. So, just a comment.
Sure. Mayor, I would just, if I might, this is Stephanie, Human Resources Manager. If I might just throw out the thought that the staff is, there's been a lot of change and upheaval in the last several months. And we are in about 8 weeks from replacing the city administrator and having a new supervisor put in place. So I guess I would throw out there the idea that we have some continuity going right now. We have a routine and a schedule that's working pretty well for us as a staff. And changing it now again is going to, and then having to change it all again in 8 weeks, it's a lot of extra, little bit of extra stressors on folks, but, we'll do what council directs for us, but the current arrangement does seem to be working quite well. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion and get this rolling, if that's all right.
Go ahead.
I'm going to stick with what I'd already said. I move that we direct Mr. Jenkins and Mr. Climbs to have a meeting at the soonest possible time and determine what, if any, items that can be, responsibility can be shifted over to the Parks Director, Rich Climbs, and then present that back to council. And I understand that is not a specific, no, I'm going to stop there because that's a motion. So, thank you. I
think, I wonder if if we should elaborate on what that meeting should be. I mean, I think, I know that there's been some questions come up that have been posed to me, by the interim city administrator, even since this started, on not understanding, the relationship between the interim city administrator and the deputy city administrator. I think it's always been my understanding that council was really wanting the interim to rely on and include the deputy city administrator in the day-to-day workings, so that if the interim wasn't available or wasn't there, the deputy city administrator could jump in and be that person to be able to pick up the pieces, as well as the interim city administrator is going to be going away in a few weeks. And then I think the deputy city administrator definitely needs to be apprised of and be included in all of the things that are going on, so that he can be able to be that bridge for the new city administrator as well, because we want that process to be as smooth as it possibly can when he gets started. Councilman Brackett, you're making a motion. Do you want to repeat? Let me see if I can say this.
Yeah, I'll repeat the
Okay.
motion.
And I think if you could be pretty clear with it, I think we might need to spell it out pretty well.
Yes. So, because some of the things that you had just talked about were implied in my mind, but probably not clear enough. So, I move that we direct the interim city administrator to have a meeting with the deputy city administrator to determine what duties can be transferred over to the deputy city administrator, and to begin working on a transition plan so that when the new city administrator is hired, the deputy city administrator is able to assist in that transition and make sure of the continuity of service moving forward. And with the goal of reducing the additional contract, or the additional independent contractor hours that are being paid right now as well.
Mayor,
That's a long motion.
I know. Well, you wanted
Councilman
to.
Freilich?
So
I know.
Is it appropriate at this time to ask that either the mayor or a council member or a couple council members also would be included in that meeting? Is that something that can be done, or is that not allowed, or simply because there may be other ideas or suggestions that may come out of it?
Actually, I believe it's completely allowed, Councilman Freilich. Especially if you read the code that I quoted from, if there is a position that's not allowed, that is not laid out in our city code, and there isn't one for interim city administrator, and there isn't one for deputy city administrator, then it says that the council shall authorize their duties, the term of office, the compensation of those employees. So, yes, council can direct those.
So in that case, I'd like to add to the motion if I can. Is that something I can do, or do I have to make an amendment?
It hasn't been seconded yet, so I mean, it could die and you could start over if you want to do that.
Go ahead.
All I'd like to do is use Kelsey's motion, but add that I would like to have the mayor and one council member present at these meetings, just for
I can add that to my
aiding
motion.
the operation.
I accept that addition to my motion. So, if there's...
Do I have a second?
I have a second.
Oh, go ahead.
Second by Dennis Freilich.
Okay. Thank you. So we have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Freilich. this is a request, so we can do this with a voice vote, but I think I'm going to ask each person individually just so we know where we're at. So Councilwoman Brockert, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm?
Aye.
Councilman Freilich?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gordon?
No.
Councilman Gendrich?
Nay.
Councilman Hopkins?
Nay.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye. I kind of thought we were gonna have a little bit more discussion, but, because I wouldn't have minded hearing some of the, comments that may have come from the council members that voted nay. At this point in time, though, we did not direct anything explicit, so hopefully they're okay with that.
Okay, we have 4 ayes and 3 nays. So the motion carries, and this is a work in progress. So, from what I'm hearing, what I heard from Councilman Malcolm when he brought this up was just, we're looking at ways to save money because the coronavirus is out there. We know that we're losing on expenses. We didn't approve buying a mower for that reason. And we know that this is something that would be a big cost savings. And I think we know that it's our responsibility to look after taxpayer money to the best of our ability. So, we can readdress this again, June 4th. All right, next, I believe. Yes, go ahead.
And this is not, this is just in that we did not determine who that council person should be that's involved in that meeting. I think it should be one of the nay votes.
Thank you.
Mayor, are you asking for a volunteer right now, or do you want to assign someone or recommend somebody?
I was going to actually ask you because you've done a lot of work on this in this area.
Okay.
That's where I was headed. So if you were going to volunteer, I was going to allow you to.
That's just,
thank you.
Yeah.
Baby.
It's not a bad concept, and especially defining the task and where it belongs. That's definitely any of us can do. So I'd be glad to do that. So I'll help with that.
Thank you.
Mayor, could I just
and of course it'll have to be in a virtual way here so that we can all yes. All right. So we got through that. Now we are on. The hits just keep on coming here. We're on 11W, and we're going to discuss closing the aquatic center for the 2020 season. Rich, are you on there?
Believe it or not, I finally am. I'm on my 3rd phone. I apologize.
Oh goodness. Yeah. Well, you're walking in Chief Talkington's shoes tonight.
I was thinking the same thing. Yep, I was thinking the same thing, and if he was present tonight, I would have said that to him. It's a jinx.
Okay, so would you like to do this presentation now? Our last thing on the agenda.
Yes, we'd love to have the conversation with council, and Kelsey Stafford is with me, our program supervisor, her job is to operate that aquatic center. So I listened to council. I've heard what you said, Councilmember Freilich and others, that we need to let staff know we need to make a decision sooner than later on what we're going to do with that aquatic center. So that is what drove us to making the recommendation, and our recommendation, quite honestly, is to not open that aquatic center this year. We meet weekly, regularly, virtually with the IPRA, Iowa Parks and Rec, and the National Recreation Park. We're following the CDC recommendations on pool operations. We're listening to the proclamations that the governor is making, and quite honestly, it's information overload for a lot of people. If we were to open that pool for normal operations, we would have to maintain 6-foot distancing, both in and out of the water. Out of the water, we would have to have masks. We would have to do continual wipe downs and sanitizing. Just so many parameters there. And we still would have to have 8 to 10 guards. Yes, it's been suggested that we reduce the area open at the pool. That would reduce the number of guards. My concern here is for the staff that would be working at the aquatic center, specifically the lifeguards, who are typically the age grouping of 15 to 17 years old, typically. They won't have a choice if there's a life-saving situation but to break that social barrier and but to put themselves possibly in harm's way with that virus. Arguably, chlorine does or does not affect the virus. Depends on what you want to read and who is reporting it, quite honestly. And we've looked at almost all of it, folks. So my concern is that I do not want to put the staff in a life-saving situation, and I do not want to have them have to second guess to think whether they want to go in or not because of COVID-19. It is going to be on their minds. They may freeze up, and they won't have a choice but to save somebody. We combine that with the American Red Cross recommendations that we can't even get our staff trained now. Some of them will have not practiced a live save for 9 months. So, combine all that together, and yes, the governor did open pools up for lap swim and for lessons. Sure, we could do that, but I don't know that the cost to benefit value is there. So tonight, I've just thrown it all out to you. I'm looking for input. I'm looking for your approval not to open that pool this year.
Rich, I've heard that several other communities have closed as well. Can you give us an update on that?
Yes, we know that Davenport, Clinton, Mason City, Cedar Rapids, Sergeant Bluff, Clive, and Des Moines, and we know that Council Bluffs will not be opening their pools this year.
My only answer would be that I agree with the Parks Department's assessment of the situation, and I think it would be inappropriate to open both financially and safety-wise.
This is Councilwoman Gordon. I mean, this has got to be a heart-wrenching decision for Rich and his team. I do have one question, Rich. What are your thoughts on Mississippi Mist? Is that going to remain closed too?
The governor specifically mentions that apparatus in the proclamations, so that's kind of treated like a playground would be treated, is what I'm seeing. It's running the same approval process. If the Mist opens and the pool doesn't, the crowd will be overwhelming. There will not be social distancing in that Mist. So I'd have to wait and see what the climate is, as in, where is this COVID-19 heading? Where are we at with infection? You know what I mean? We'd have to really evaluate the situation. I wouldn't want to say we're closing it now and not opening it, because there may be an opportunity, but at this time, it sure does not look like it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Rich, does I know opening the pool takes a tremendous amount of money and time and planning, but does opening the Mist, could you decide today to open it and turn it on tomorrow? Does it not take any planning?
We could not open it tomorrow. It would take us, currently the pumps are being worked on, and they've been, for whatever reason, the materials and supplies have been delayed. I'm thinking that was a supply situation with COVID, but I'd have to check on that. But remember, that Mist is a registered state pool. It's a registered state of Iowa. And so the Mist would have to have a water sample. It would have to go through the approval. We would have to send it in to have it inspected. And our John Cook's Operations is the ones that does the water sample testing for us. It would take us at least, I'm going to guess, 2 to 3 weeks to get that up and running at this point. And next week we know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, somewhere, there's going to be another proclamation. I am pretty tired of trying to predict what that proclamation is going to include, everybody. I don't know about you. It's all over the place.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Anyone else have any comments, thoughts?
I do, Mayor.
Go ahead.
John. Yeah. First of all, let me qualify. I don't want to see anyone, get hurt or, God forbid, a death or anything like that. And I am concerned for the safety of our citizens and the recreational health, and I am a proponent of trying to get things back to normal and get things opened up and get going. So I am opposed to closing the pool. I do have some statistics, and if you guys will bear with me here, I'll craft through my notes and try to mention some things that I think we should consider. In 15 children under 15 years old, 15 or under, have died from the coronavirus since February. And that's horrible. Obviously, that's horrible. 200 15-year-olds since February have died from the flu or the pneumonia. Fluorine inactivates the coronavirus. I'm curious, that if Rich has any figures about the number of rescue attempts that were attempted last year at the Aquatic Center.
We do have those numbers, John, and those numbers are, depending on the year, depending on the season, somewhere between 40 and 60 saves, 45 and 55 saves a year take place.
Okay, thank you. And of those 45 to 50, how many required mouth-to-mouth resuscitation?
0 require a life-saving CPR situation, but when you do go in the water, you are face-to-face, body-to-body. There's no choice.
But you're in chlorinated water that does deactivate the virus. And bear with me now, counsel, okay? Because I'm trying to get...
Are you a scientist? I got to interrupt. Point of order. That I haven't heard any source for your statistics. We're talking about putting the lives of young people at danger, and
I have already qualified that, Kelsey, and said that I'm concerned with people's lives and so forth too, just as much, as anyone else. That's not a question about anything. These statistics are from the Center for Disease Control. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, and here's plenty of room for controversy too. If the percentage of rescue attempts, what's the likelihood of that rescue attempt actually being attempted on someone who has COVID-19? And since the water is chlorinated, what's the percentage that rescuer is going to be contaminated or contract COVID-19? And then furthermore, what's the likelihood of that 15 or 16-year-old being, severely infected, and hurt through, the symptoms and so forth. And God forbid, we certainly wouldn't want anybody to die, but are they going to get cold symptoms or what? So what's the percentage, of a 16-year-old saving someone in chlorinated water? And if mouth-to-mouth resuscitation was used, how many have we got training, or could we use an ambubag, a manual resuscitator? Okay? So there are a lot of questions about this, and I think that, we need to get the pool ready to go, make some strategies yet to try to get lap swimming going. Could we have a program where lap swimming is, based on an hourly amount, restrict the amount of use for lap swimming? Could we have 18-year-olds or 16-year-olds supervising a swimmer that was 8 years old or less? Swimming with them in their lap and out, and provide time for disinfecting and so forth. And, we're concerned about 16-year-olds for the safety of staff, but, also, just kind of a bizarre situation here, but what happens if, we have 16-year-olds working at the golf course? Rich?
I'm not sure the age of them, to be honest with you, but they're not going to be required to go into a life-saving situation. And keep in mind, that chlorine is not an EPA-approved sanitizer.
Okay.
I got a question based on some of the statements John made. So when there's a life-saving situation going on, Rich, even if they don't have to perform CPR, you mentioned that they're probably face-to-face in the water. When somebody's choking on water, how often do they cough?
I think that's obvious. I think pretty often you're going to be spewing it out, spitting it out.
So if you're face-to-face with somebody, regardless of the chlorine that you might be dunked in, you're still going to be coughing those virus particles, if you have them, directly into the face of somebody else that is then put at risk. It was also mentioned that we don't have the training in place because we haven't been able to do the training, so we don't have the staff there to do it. The other question I would have is, what does it cost to fill the pool and prep it for the season versus leaving it unprepped?
Well, and I would ask too, we're giving free Musca bus rides. We're giving money out to situations to maintain things in other situations, small business loans, free bus rides. Does it cost, to use Kent Stein? Should cost really be a consideration in this situation if we want to, promote summer health and recreation programs in the city? I think we should look at this and maybe make it an opportunity to, rather than be one of the cities that don't open the pool, see if we could be a city that has worked through this and has some summer aquatic activities going.
Mayor?
Yes.
Councilman Freilich? I appreciate what John's saying, and he's made some valid points. But there's also an awful lot of supposition in what he's saying is, if this happens, what if this happens in this type of scenario? I don't want any kid under our tutelage to be given the COVID virus or any adult that's at that pool, because there's just many probably adults. I don't know the ratio. But at this time of year, we're already at the point of the year where we're just a few months, we're going to be into the cool weather and the pool gets closer. I see no reason to open the pool at this time without better information. Thank you.
Your Honor?
Anyone else? Yes.
Yes, Your Honor. This is Councilwoman Brockert. I've been listening to John, and I sympathize with his statistics. I'm sure that they're valid. I also know that Muscatine County is 42,664 people. Muscatine City is 23,000 thereabouts. We've already had 538 cases of COVID-19 in this county. And we're being told by Dr. Fauci and others that this is just the first round. We will have a second round and it will be worse. So as a mother, a grandmother, and a great-grandmother, I would not allow any child under my supervision to go to the pool under these circumstances. Thank you.
I was also thinking, the times that our grandkids have went to the pool, we always go with them. And the whole pool deck on both sides is filled with adults, side by side, watching and observing the children. I don't see how you could keep those 6 feet apart. I definitely don't think you could keep people in the pool 6 feet apart. And nor could they wear a mask. I would be very concerned about this. I know the Y on Friday. We're opening our pool tomorrow. But we have designated lap lanes only. And then only 9 people in the pool because you can't have more than 10. And sheesh, I know how much it costs to fill the pool. Well, I couldn't tell you right off the top of my head, but I know it's hundreds of thousands of dollars to fill up the pool. And even if the governor did say, yes, you could open up swimming pools for rec swim, which right now you can't even do it, and things go south, perish the thought, it could be turned back off again the next week, and you've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars for nothing, because it could turn right back around. I think there's validity, certainly from the staff, saying that they think that it should open, but also, if Cedar Rapids is closing theirs and Davenport and Clinton, I mean, that sends a message too. Des Moines, Davenport, Clinton, Cedar Rapids, that's quite a bit. And the other thing is, if those are all closed, what if they all try to come to ours? Now we're really swamped.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts?
Well, I think the social distancing.
So what are you looking from us? Rich?
Well, quite honestly, we had a press release. We had a press release prepared to send out, but Mr. Jenkins wanted to bring it to you and get your views on it before we sent that out. So I think the intent was to get your consensus to close it or your opinions on it.
All right. Well, why don't I go down the list and just ask each council person which way they're going, and if you get 4 that says close it, then there you go.
Okay.
Good with that?
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Excuse me. Councilwoman Brockert.
Close it.
Councilman Brackett.
I think my opinion's obvious. I appreciate the press release, Rich. I read through that. I think it's appropriate. As much as it does, pain me, and I understand John's point of view on that, it is important, I think, to keep it closed. In addition, and I know you're not asking for comments, but I did want to add, we have seen enough cases also where people are being asked to wear masks and they resort to violence because they disagree with the masking policy. Do we really want to put teenagers in charge of telling adults that they need to wear a mask when those types of things are already happening? Even here locally, people are getting harassed when they're being asked to wear a mask in a business. So please keep it closed for right now. And if the Parks Department changes their mind and thinks that something can be done to bring it open, then please come back to us.
And Councilman Gendrich.
Well, I think our Park and Rec Department should be, and our council should be keeping the options open. And we should not be making a definitive statement here tonight that the pool is going to stay closed. Like I say, we have teenagers that instruct adults all the time with Park and Rec activities. And sometimes there's some hostilities that erupt and so forth, and that's certainly unfortunate. But, and too, Rich, and council, if the kids can't get to the pool in some fashion or another, make it free. We have been giving things out free during this situation. What are the kids, if we're not going to do this and try to keep our options open, what are we going to do? What are we going to provide? Our taxpayers and citizens, they need to have some options, some things to go and do. And, we can't, I read criticism for it, I'm sure, but, we can't live our lives in a shell. And, so what is the strategy? What are we going to get our kids out doing this summer? If we're going to close the pool, or we're not going to have a strategy to, like I say, try to get some use out of the aquatic resources that we have here. So I'm in favor of keeping our options open. I know I'm outvoted, and all that, I would imagine anyway, from what I've heard. So, but I certainly respect everyone's input.
Thank you, John. Councilman Malcolm.
Thank you, Your Honor. I say no, keep it closed. Safety is one part of the equation, but it goes back to the cost. I heard Rich clearly. I understand the operation of this. We're talking about at least 2 weeks, testing, water, all kinds of stuff. And add a third week to train staff and get certified and verified. And now we're automatically in almost in July. Only going to be open for 60 days, maybe, depending on weather. A lot of money spent to just, no, let's keep it closed. Let's keep people safe. And for John, yeah, we're not giving away free stuff. We're allowing accommodations, trying to make it work. But the other side of the coin is maybe you need to sit down and have a cup of coffee with me and we talk and come up with some ideas and solutions to put out there. I've learned, never bring up a problem that you haven't came up with a solution or at least a recommendation to solve the problem. I don't know what we're going to do with the young people during the summer, but I know what we don't want to happen. We don't want to have to go to funerals. We don't want to have people rush to the hospitals unnecessarily. Let's keep everybody safe. Yeah, and that's the stream of revenue that we would normally look forward to, not this year.
Thank you. Councilwoman Gordon, which way are you leaning?
Sadly, keep it closed.
Thank you. Councilman Hopkins.
I would say close it, please.
Thank you. And that leaves
Councilman Freilich.
Councilman Freilich, right here front and center, right on me. Which way are you leaning?
For safety reasons and for budget concerns and cost, keep it closed.
All right. Well, there you go, Rich. That's your answer there. I've got to tell you too. You know, when you're talking about, I'm a first aid provider at the Y and do CPR and AED and first aid and all of those things. I'm scared to death to even think about doing it, and it's been a problem for me. And I because I worry if I was in the situation, would I hesitate for that reason? And that's the last thing that you want in a first aid provider. And I'm an adult, you know, and so I think, would I want my teenage grandson to have to make that decision? It would be a scary thing. So, thank you for bringing that to us. Yes.
Mayor, thank you for your consideration in the conversation. We do appreciate the feedback, and I can assure council and any citizens listening, we take it very, very serious when we restrict services or have to close. It is heartbreaking, because that aquatic center is amazing. We know that. One thing that we will continue to do is develop press releases and develop programs, and we will have opportunities for people to participate in things. We have a really neat program going on right now. It's a mailer treasure hunt, learn Muscatine history. That amazingly, we had 53 people. Yeah, we had 53 people sign up for it so far, just in a matter of 3 or 4 days. And not all kids, believe it or not. Some older adults have chosen to take on the treasure hunt type of a thing. So my point is, we understand we need to have opportunities for people, and we will certainly push forward and provide and find those opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you. As we start to close out the night and see where we're headed for Memorial Day, Councilwoman Brocker, do you have anything to share?
Yes, Your Honor. I would like to wish everyone a safe, happy, and healthy Memorial Day. And please don't forget why we celebrate Memorial Day. There are those in cemeteries who've given their all for us. The least we can do is remember them. And on a personal note, please hold your loved ones close, because you never know when you might lose them. Thank you.
Councilman Gendrich, anything tonight?
Nothing specifically, Mayor. I just am impressed with all the things that our city does to get through this coronavirus situation and try to get back on track here as soon as we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Brackett.
I just want to remind people that, you know, the blood center reached out, well, they reached out to me. That's not a reminder for people, but they reached out to me to remind remind me that they are in need of donations. Now, I did overhear them talking about scheduling, and it sounds like they've gotten, because they have to space things out so far and maintain, new precautions, that it is a little tight to get scheduled. But I would encourage people to, if you're healthy and able and willing to do that, go ahead and schedule a blood donation. I went in today. They had me, I was in and out of there in a decent amount of time. They were one-on-one with me mostly from the time I walked in the door. I only interacted with one person. I felt very comfortable with the situation, and it went really well, and was able to donate some blood. So I would encourage others to do the same. I stopped in the center out there by Hy-Vee here in Muscatine. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Hopkins, anything tonight?
I have nothing tonight, ma'am.
Thank you. Councilman Freilich?
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to add something to the agenda for the next council meeting, the regular council meeting was the 4th. I would like to have further discussion on cost-cutting measures for the city, budget concerns. I'd like to have additional. Nancy brought up a few things that were possibilities. They were only suggestions. They weren't necessarily anything but a suggestion. Some were good. I think some we need to talk about. So I'd like to have that put on the agenda for next week, or next meeting, rather. And I'd also like to wish everybody a safe and happy Memorial Day.
Thank you. You know what, Councilman Freilich, I was thinking the same thing. We never took action on the recommendations last week, which were do or not do, or all or none, or anything. And yeah, I think that's something we probably need to get on next week's agenda, or next time. We're saying week. We need that week off, I think.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Malcolm.
Nothing further tonight except for, Your Honor, wish everybody a safe holiday. Remember to wear your mask, practice social distancing, and if any of the council people would like me to come over and have some of their food, let me know. I'll drive up, just give me the food, and I'll drive away. This will be okay.
Very good. And Councilwoman Gordon.
Yeah, I just want to touch base real quick that we are going to have a second round of the Emergency Assistance Small Business Loan Program. So the applications will begin around May 28th and run through June 7th. We're going to use the same online process hosted by the Community Foundation and the review process. We're hoping to have the information back to council for approval on June 18th. We did make one slight change. We allow businesses that start prior to May 1st now apply for the same application. So FAQs and communications will go out early next week.
I did get a call about that today, actually, and had them reach out. And then also, I'm on the Bi-State Regional Commission, and it's a very distinct possibility that we may be able to get some more money for small businesses here in Muscatine. So we'll have a meeting on that next Wednesday, and hopefully there'll be some good information to share when we're done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Brian, anything for the rest of the night?
No, thank you. I did make a note of the council request for the next budget for the next meeting, so we'll get that on there.
Can you repeat that, Brian?
I made a note. Did I talk too fast? I'm sorry. I made a note. I had something else.
No, it was all garbled.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I have nothing else. I wanted to say that I did make a note of Councilman Freilich's request for the budget discussion at the next meeting, so we'll make sure that is on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Cinda, anything we need?
Nope, same thing. I made a note for the agenda item for next meeting.
Very good, thank you. And I just wanted to reiterate what everyone else has said. Have a wonderful and safe Memorial Day. Also, I wanted to take this opportunity to thank our public transportation employees. Today they did the Sound the Horn event at 2 o'clock to recognize our public transportation employees and all that they do for all of our community and the citizens. And I know they're phasing back in some of the routes, and I know the citizens are really looking forward to that as well. So big thanks to them being right out there on the front line all the time working on behalf of the city. I don't have anything else further. Stay safe, everyone. Please continue to follow the recommendations. We have now had 45 deaths in Muscatine, or 35 deaths in Muscatine County, and it's very sad because each one of these people has loved ones and family, and very scary. So thank you to everyone. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Councilman Freilich. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good night. All right.
Night all.
Good night.